students know how to write an essay is indispensable. Probably you'll be sitting thinking, writing an essay about just one subject is hard enough. So where did you begin with a coherent essay about two topics? One of the common ways is the compare and contrast essay. This look at the similarities of two or more objects and differences is for comparing contrast through methods, through theories, through historical periods, through activities, among others. Sometimes the whole essay will compare and contrast, though sometimes the comparisons or contrasts may be only part of the essay. In this space, we will show you elements of this kind of essay, focusing the two main ways a compare and contrast essay, using the block or point-by-point structure. Some features the process has developed it, some suggestions, how write this type of essay, and original essay, and finally some tips. Some principal features in this kind of essay are: perform a comparative analysis. A compare and contrast essay cannot be completed without conducting a comparative analysis. This will allow the writer out their thoughts about the subject before sorting them into a neat and organized form. A compare and contrast essay must communicate in an efficient manner. This means that this essay should start with an opening paragraph, which will directly state what the writer is trying to say. Afterward, the body. This will support the opening paragraph by providing supporting evidence. Finally, compare and contrast essay can conclude by re-emphasizing their opening paragraph. This is to produce a lasting effect on the mind of the reader. This essay also is characterized for organize the information and make that the thing will be memorizable and comprehensible. And finally, make a Venn diagram. This can help quickly and efficiently compare and contrast two or more things or two or more ideas.
And now you can see a small diagram of point-by-point structure. First, we are going to find an introduction, then point 1, then object 1 and object 2, then point 2, and then object 1 and object 2 again, then point 3, and then object 1 and object 2 again, and finally a brief conclusion. Now I'm going to explain how to use the point-by-point structure. Point-by-point method. In the point-by-point method, you will compare one aspect of one subject and the same aspect of the second subject in the same paragraph. If you have selected the point-by-point method for your essay, you will have at least 3 paragraphs. First paragraph of the body. Select one characteristic of subject A and select one characteristic of subject B and say how similar or not similar is subject B to subject A. Second paragraph of the body. Select another characteristic of subject A and select another characteristic of subject B and again say how similar or not similar is subject B to subject A. Add additional paragraph for additional points, but keep in mind how long your essay has to be. Here you can see a small diagram of the block method. First, we are going to find an introduction, then object 1 and point 1, then object 1 again and point 2, then object 1 again and point 3. Then we are going to use a transition sentence or a transition paragraph. Then we are going to use object 2 and point 1, object 2 and point 2, object 2 and point 3, and finally a conclusion. Now I'm going to explain the block method. One of the most popular and the most common is the block method, also known as the summary approach or one at a time approach. In this method, the writer provides an introduction giving the comparisons, the contrast, and the thesis statement. Then the writer provides body paragraph detailing the similarities and provides body paragraph detailing the contrast, following the body paragraph in a conclusion that paraphrases the essay and the thesis statement. The block method presents all arguments related to A and then presents all arguments related to B. This method is a little bit more difficult to use because there is so much space between points related to A and between points related to B. Maybe you are asking when you should use the block method or the point-by-point method. I will give you an answer. As a general rule, use the block method for paragraphs such as a discussion. Since paragraphs are shorter, the reader won't lose track of each point such as is discussed in relation to each topic. And use the point-by-point structure for longer essay to compare or contrast two topics. In this case, the reader won't be able to lose the main idea of the essay.
The process to develop the compare and contrast essay is easy, and we can divide it in 4 parts. The first part is to formulate a logical argument. That means that we have to choose an object that can be discussed like two subjects, and this subject can be in the same category but have something different, or maybe we can choose two things that it doesn't really appear that they have something in common, but surprisingly they do have. The point is that we have to find out something that can compare with some other thing, but they have something alike. By the way, you have to make sure that the subject can be discussed in a meaningful way for the readers, and you can help yourself using a brainstorming tool like Venn diagram or listing the characteristics that shares or that traits of both subjects, and this will help you to understand better the difference. Then you have to choose only the points that are important to develop your thesis. Okay, after concretizing all the ideas that you will put in your thesis, it's important to make a structure of your essay, like introduction, body paragraph, conclusion, and also the structure inside of the paragraph. And in this time, remember in the part of the video that we will talk about the structure, we will choose the point by point. Also, it's important to maintain the structure of the body paragraph, and that's why we choose the point by point, because it's based on the subject to subject comparison. It means that you will choose a category and you will compare it in that category the two subjects, and not in block comparing a subject first and then in the body paragraph another subject and the characteristics. And that's why it's important to choose after making a structure, because it will help you to develop better your ideas and not losing your readers. You have to remember that inside of the body paragraph there is another structure that have a topic sentence, a body that develop the topic sentence, and a conclusion. So in the comparison contrast essay, it's important to give every paragraph a topic sentence, and as we are making point by point, we will develop point by point some topic sentence. For example, the similarities of the First and the Second World War, and in the other paragraph we will develop the difference between the Second and the First World War. After you develop and portray your ideas inside the body paragraph, it's important to put all together. And this is the part 3, the introduction. The introduction has to tell the reader why it's important to put them together. I mean, why it's important to compare two subjects. And this will help you to call the attention as a hook to the readers.
And the other part, and the last part, the part 4, is making a conclusion. And the conclusion has to remind your reader of the significance of your evidence and argument.
Hi everyone, today I'm going to show you some about our essay. As you know, this video is about the compare and contrast essay. For that reason, we decided to talk about the 2 world wars. First, we thought in a topic that had similarities and differences. After we decided the topic, we did a brainstorming process that helped us to find many interesting ideas. Then we organized all the arguments, and finally we chose to use a point-by-point structure. In our introductory paragraph, we talk about the turning points, that are situations that have occurred and changed the international order. In most cases have been wars. For that reason, we write that the First and the Second World War are turning points. Then we talk about the similarities and differences between both wars. As we told you before, the structure of this essay is point by point. For that reason, in the first body paragraph, we only talk about the similarities between both wars. In this case, the similarity is that both wars marked the beginning of an era of new alliance between the countries that participated in the conflict. Something interesting is that the alliance were the same in both wars. Other interesting thing is that both wars began in the center of Europe. In the second body paragraph, we only talk about the differences between both wars. The first difference is the level of damage that both wars caused. We found that the First World War caused less damage than the Second World War, because in the Second World War, many states used new weapons. For example, the United States used the atomic bomb. All of this situation caused 60 million deaths worldwide, while the First World War caused 24 million deaths. Other difference between both wars is how both helped to build the new international system. In this case, after the Second World War, many countries became stronger and began the fight to become a hegemon country. For example, the United States and Soviet Union. In contrast, after the First World War, any state had the opportunity to become the most powerful. As a result, after the Second World War, the world saw the transition to a bipolar system. Finally, both wars only showed the beginning of the end of a decadent Eurocentric era, and both only were the precedent for a new international system, new poles of power, and a new form of war. For that reason, the First and the Second World War are turning points. Now, I'm going to tell you some tips that you can use or follow to improve your essay. First, we have a list of words that you can use in this type of essay. First, we have compare words like similarity, likewise, also, both, not only but also, neither, just like, plus a noun, similar to, plus a noun, to be similar, to be the same as, to be alike, and to compare. Then we have contrast words like however, in contrast, in comparison, by comparison, on the other hand, while, whereas, but, to differ from, to be different, to be the similar to, and to be unlike. The second tip is refer that if you are having trouble to finding evidence that support your argument, you just need go back to your original text and try the brainstorming process again. It could be that your argument is developing a post where it started, which is good. You just need go back and look for further evidence. The next tip is use references, because it's a useful way to increase an essay's power to persuade so long as they are appropriately. On the other hand, references are necessary to use someone else's argument without taking credit for them in the process. Reference should be done in the style that is appropriate for the essay's subject. The last tip is proofreading. It's a key factor because errors can break the reader from the flow of the essay. Writers should always read through their own work to check spelling mistakes or grammar mistakes, that should be rephrased for a better result. In this way, you can do a checklist. You can do a table where in the first column you put some items, and in the second column you put if it's okay or need a comment. Obviously, you can say to another student to help you. And this is our video. We hope that this information can help you.